Hello, and welcome to the Sleepy Yesteryear Archive. Tonight, we drift slowly through the Sumerian tablet that describes what happens to humans when they die, and the trap they don't see, a 1-hour journey for sleep. There are no adverts, no music stings, just calm narration to carry you toward rest. Settle in, dim your lights, close your eyes, and let history take you into deep sleep.
It's a sunny day in April 1902, and Leonard Woolley, a young British archaeologist, is kneeling in the dusty excavation site of Ur, Mesopotamia, carefully brushing away the dirt from a recently uncovered tablet. The air is thick with the smell of sand and aged earth, and the sound of pickaxes striking the ground echoes through the site. As Woolley gently sweeps away the dirt, the cuneiform script on the tablet begins to reveal itself, and he can't help but feel a sense of excitement and curiosity about what this ancient text might hold. Woolley has been working at Ur for several months now, and his team has made some remarkable discoveries, but this tablet seems different. The cuneiform script is intricate and well preserved, and Woolley can tell that it's going to take some time to decipher its meaning. He carefully lifts the tablet and begins to examine it more closely, taking note of the small, wedge-shaped characters that cover its surface. As he works, Woolley can't help but think about the significance of this discovery. He knows that the Sumerians, who lived in this region over 4,000 years ago, were a highly advanced civilization, known for their sophisticated irrigation systems, their complex system of government, and their rich cultural heritage. But despite all that is known about the Sumerians, there is still much that remains a mystery, particularly when it comes to their beliefs about the afterlife. Woolley's thoughts are interrupted by the sound of his colleague, Sir Charles Leonard, calling out to him from across the site. "Leonard, come take a look at this," he says, his voice filled with excitement. Woolley gets up and walks over to where Leonard is standing, and as he approaches, he sees that Leonard has uncovered a small, ceramic vessel. It's beautifully crafted, with intricate designs and patterns etched into its surface. As they examine the vessel, Woolley and Leonard begin to discuss the possibility that it might be connected to the tablet they found earlier. They know that the Sumerians often placed vessels like this in the graves of their deceased, filled with food and drink for the journey to the afterlife. Could this vessel be a clue to understanding the Sumerian beliefs about what happens after we die? The sun is beginning to set over Ur, casting a warm orange glow over the excavation site. Woolley and Leonard continue to work, carefully uncovering the secrets of the Sumerian tablet and the ceramic vessel. As they work, they are aware that they are not just uncovering artifacts, but also uncovering the stories and beliefs of a long-lost civilization. As the stars begin to twinkle in the night sky, Woolley and Leonard take a break, sitting down on the edge of the excavation site to rest and reflect on the day's discoveries. They know that they have only scratched the surface of what this site has to offer, and they are eager to see what tomorrow will bring. The Sumerian tablet and the ceramic vessel are just the beginning, and they can't wait to see what other secrets they will uncover as they continue to dig. The night air is cool and calm, filled with the sound of crickets and the occasional distant howl of a dog. Woolley and Leonard sit in comfortable silence, watching the stars twinkling above, and wondering what other mysteries the ancient city of Ur holds. As they sit there, they are aware that they are not just archaeologists, but also detectives, trying to piece together the puzzle of a long-lost civilization. As the night wears on, Woolley begins to think about the Sumerian tablet and the story it might tell. He knows that the cuneiform script is difficult to decipher, but he is determined to unlock its secrets. He thinks about the Sumerian people and their beliefs about the afterlife, and he wonders what they might have written on this tablet. Is it a story of a great king, or a myth about the gods? Or is it something more mundane, a list of goods or a business transaction? The questions swirl in Woolley's mind as he sits in the darkness, the only sound the distant hum of insects and the occasional snore of one of the excavation team. He knows that the answers will come, but for now, he is content to simply sit and wonder, surrounded by the mysteries of the ancient city of Ur. The Sumerian tablet, with its intricate cuneiform script, is a puzzle waiting to be solved, and Wooly is eager to take on the challenge. As the night deepens, Wooly's thoughts turn to the process of deciphering the tablet. He knows that it will be a painstaking task, requiring great care and attention to detail. He thinks about the other tablets they have found, and how they might be connected to this one. He wonders if they might be able to find more tablets, or other artifacts that will help them understand the Sumerian beliefs about the afterlife. The hours pass slowly, and the stars wheel overhead. Wooly and Leonard eventually retire to their tents, exhausted but exhilarated by the day's discoveries. As they drift off to sleep, they are aware that they are on the threshold of something momentous, something that could change our understanding of the ancient Sumerians and their place in history. The Sumerian tablet, with its secrets and mysteries, is a doorway to the past, and Wooly and Leonard are eager to step through it and see what lies beyond. The next morning, Wooly and Leonard are back at the excavation site, eager to continue their work. They begin by carefully excavating the area around the Sumerian tablet, looking for any other artifacts that might be connected to it. As they work, they are aware that they are not just uncovering the secrets of the tablet, but also the secrets of the Sumerian people. The sun beats down on them, and the air is hot and dry. But Wooly and Leonard are undeterred, driven by their passion for discovery and their desire to uncover the truth about the Sumerians. They work tirelessly, carefully brushing away the dirt and debris, and examining every inch of the site. As the day wears on, they begin to uncover more artifacts, each one providing a new clue to the mystery of the Sumerian tablet. They find a series of ceramic vessels, each one beautifully crafted and adorned with intricate designs. They find a collection of bronze tools, each one perfectly preserved and still sharp. And then, just as they are about to pack up for the day, they make a discovery that will change everything. They uncover a small, stone statue, beautifully carved and perfectly preserved. The statue depicts a Sumerian god, and it is clear that it is a significant artifact. Wooly and Leonard are ecstatic, and they can't wait to examine the statue more closely. They carefully lift it out of the ground, and begin to examine it, looking for any clues that might tell them more about the Sumerian people and their beliefs. As they examine the statue, they begin to realize the significance of their discovery. They have uncovered a piece of history, a piece of the puzzle that will help them understand the Sumerians and their place in the world. They know that they have only just begun to scratch the surface of the secrets that the Sumerian tablet holds, and they are eager to continue their work. The discovery of the stone statue is a major breakthrough, and Wooly and Leonard know that it will be a significant contribution to the field of archaeology. They are proud of what they have accomplished, and they are eager to share their findings with the world. As they pack up their tools and head back to their tents, Wooly and Leonard can't help but feel a sense of excitement and anticipation. They know that they have uncovered something significant, and they are eager to see what other secrets the Sumerian tablet might hold. They are aware that they are on the threshold of a major discovery, one that will change our understanding of the ancient Sumerians and their place in history. The sun sets over the excavation site, casting a warm orange glow over the desert landscape. Wooly and Leonard sit in their tents, exhausted but exhilarated by the day's discoveries. They know that they have only just begun to uncover the secrets of the Sumerian tablet, and they are eager to continue their work. As they drift off to sleep, they are aware that they are part of something much bigger than themselves. They are part of a long line of archaeologists and scholars who have dedicated their lives to uncovering the secrets of the past. They are part of a tradition of discovery and exploration, one that will continue long after they are gone. And as they sleep, the Sumerian tablet lies quietly in the darkness, its secrets and mysteries waiting to be uncovered. The cuneiform script on its surface is a puzzle, a code that will take time and patience to decipher. But Wooly and Leonard are up to the challenge, and they are eager to see what other secrets the tablet might hold. The darkness of the excavation site was slowly giving way to the first light of dawn, and Leonard Wooly was already up, sipping his tea and preparing for another day of careful digging. The Sumerian tablet, with its intricate cuneiform script, lay on a nearby table, waiting for him to begin the painstaking process of deciphering its secrets. As he gently blew off the dust that had accumulated on its surface, he couldn't help but wonder what stories it might tell, what insights it might offer into the lives and beliefs of the people who had created it so many centuries ago. The cuneiform script, with its wedge-shaped characters, was a code that had been used by the Sumerians to record everything from business transactions to epic poems, and Woolley was determined to unlock its secrets. He began by carefully transcribing the characters, using a magnifying glass to examine the tiny marks that danced across the surface of the tablet. As he worked, he noticed that the script was written in a style that was characteristic of the Ur-3 dynasty, which had ruled Sumer from around 2112 to 2004 BCE. This was a significant discovery, as it suggested that the tablet was likely to have been created during a time of great cultural and literary flourishing in Sumer. Woolley's eyes narrowed as he concentrated on the task at hand, his mind racing with the possibilities that this tablet might hold. He knew that the Sumerians had believed in an afterlife, and that they had developed a complex system of myths and legends to explain the workings of the universe. Might this tablet hold some clue to their beliefs about what happened after death? As he delved deeper into the script, he began to notice a recurring motif, a symbol that looked like a stylized representation of a lion's head, repeated at regular intervals throughout the text. What could this symbol mean, and how did it fit into the larger narrative of the tablet? Woolley's curiosity was piqued, and he knew that he would have to continue his careful excavation of the site and his painstaking deciphering of the script in order to uncover the secrets that the tablet held. Meanwhile, far to the north, in the city of Baghdad, a young scholar named Gertrude Bell was beginning to make a name for herself as an expert in the field of Assyriology. She had spent years studying the languages and cultures of the ancient Near East, and was now working tirelessly to help establish the Iraq Museum, which would eventually become a repository for many of the artifacts uncovered by Woolley and his team. Though she and Woolley had not yet met, their paths would soon cross, and their collaboration would help to shed new light on the mysteries of the Sumerian tablet. As the sun rose higher in the sky, Woolley took a break from his work, stepping out of the excavation site and into the bright desert light. He walked slowly, lost in thought, his mind still turning over the possibilities that the tablet might hold. The air was cool and crisp, filled with the scent of sand and stone, and Woolley felt a sense of peace wash over him. He knew that the work ahead of him would be challenging, but he was ready for it, driven by a sense of curiosity and wonder that had been sparked by the discovery of the Sumerian tablet. Years later, as Woolley looked back on his time in Ur, he would remember the sense of excitement and discovery that had driven him, and the way that the tablet had seemed to hold secrets and mysteries that were waiting to be unlocked. And though the journey ahead would be long and difficult, he knew that he was on the right path, following a trail of clues that would eventually lead him to a deeper understanding of the Sumerian people and their beliefs about the afterlife. The tablet, with its cuneiform script and lion's head symbol, was just the beginning, a doorway into a world of ancient myths and legends that would continue to fascinate and inspire him for the rest of his life. As the days turned into weeks, and the weeks turned into months, Woolley's team made slow but steady progress, uncovering more and more of the ancient city, and learning more about the people who had lived there. They found evidence of a complex system of government, with a powerful king at its head, and a network of temples and palaces that had been used for both religious and administrative purposes. They also found evidence of a thriving economy, with trade links to other cities and states in the region. And through it all, the Sumerian tablet remained a constant presence, a reminder of the mysteries that still lay hidden, waiting to be uncovered. Woolley's transcription of the script was slow and painstaking, but it was also meticulous, and he was determined to get it right. He spent hours poring over the text, using his knowledge of the language to decipher the meaning of the symbols, and to reconstruct the narrative that they told. And as he worked, he began to notice a pattern, a story that was emerging from the symbols, a story that seemed to be about the journey of the soul after death. The story was fragmentary, and it was not always easy to follow, but Woolley was convinced that it was there, hidden in the text, waiting to be uncovered. He became increasingly obsessed with the tablet, spending every spare moment studying it and trying to understand its secrets. His team began to notice the change in him, the way that he seemed to be driven by a newfound sense of purpose, and they responded to it, working with renewed energy and enthusiasm. Together, they uncovered more and more of the ancient city, and they began to piece together a narrative of the Sumerian people and their beliefs about the afterlife. The tablet remained at the center of it all, a symbol of the mysteries that still lay hidden and the secrets that were waiting to be uncovered. As the months turned into years, Wooly's team made slow but steady progress, uncovering more and more of the ancient city and learning more about the people who had lived there. They found evidence of a complex system of mythology, with a pantheon of gods and goddesses who had been believed to have control over every aspect of life. They also found evidence of a system of rituals and sacrifices, which had been used to appease these gods and to ensure the continued fertility and prosperity of the land. The tablet's cuneiform script was a code that was waiting to be cracked, and Wooly was determined to crack it. He spent years studying the script, using his knowledge of the language to decipher the meaning of the symbols and to reconstruct the narrative that they told. As the years passed, Wooly's team made slow but steady progress, uncovering more and more of the ancient city and learning more about the people who had lived there. The tablet's secrets were slowly being revealed, and Wooly was determined to learn as much as he could about the Sumerian people and their beliefs about the afterlife. He knew that the tablet was just the beginning, a doorway into a world of ancient myths and legends that would continue to fascinate and inspire him for the rest of his life. As the sun set over the excavation site, Wooly would often sit back and reflect on the journey that had brought him to this place. He thought about the people who had lived in the ancient city and the stories that they had told. He thought about the tablet and the secrets that it held. And he knew that he was just beginning to scratch the surface of a much larger story, a story that would continue to unfold as he delved deeper into the mysteries of the Sumerian people. The Sumerian tablet was a puzzle, a code that was waiting to be cracked, and Wooly was determined to crack it, to uncover the secrets that it held, and to learn as much as he could about the people who had created it. The journey ahead would be long and difficult, but Wooly was ready for it, driven by a sense of curiosity and wonder that had been sparked by the discovery of the Sumerian tablet. As the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, Wooly would often sit back and look up at them, feeling a sense of awe and wonder at the vast expanse of the universe. He knew that the Sumerian people had believed in a complex system of mythology, with a pantheon of gods and goddesses who had been believed to have control over every aspect of life. And he knew that the tablet was a key part of this. Wooly's eyes adjusted to the dim light of the excavation tent, the smell of damp earth and decay filling his nostrils as he carefully uncovered the remnants of a long-forgotten city. It was the winter of 1928, and the sun beat down on the excavation site, casting a golden glow over the dusty terrain. The sound of pickaxes striking the ground and the murmur of conversation among the workers created a sense of calm industry, as if the very act of unearthing the past was a meditative ritual. As he gently brushed away the dirt from a small, rectangular stone, the outline of cuneiform script began to emerge, like the whispers of a long silent voice. The tablet, no larger than a modern-day paperback, was a marvel of Sumerian craftsmanship, its surface etched with the intricate symbols of a language that had been dead for millennia. The air was thick with anticipation as Wooly carefully transcribed the text, his pencil scratching against the paper in a slow, deliberate rhythm. The words began to take shape, telling the story of the journey of the soul after death, a narrative that had been lost to the sands of time. The Sumerians had believed in a complex system of mythology, with a pantheon of gods and goddesses who controlled every aspect of life, and this tablet was a key part of that mythology. As Wooly worked, the sounds of the excavation site faded into the background, and he felt himself transported to a world where the boundaries between the living and the dead were blurred. The tablet spoke of the soul's passage through the underworld, guided by the god Nergal, and the trials it faced on its journey to the afterlife. The sun beat down on the excavation site, casting long shadows across the ground as Wooly delved deeper into the tablet's secrets. He was struck by the vivid imagery and the sense of hope and despair that permeated the text. The Sumerians had believed that the soul's journey was not just a passive passage, but an active struggle, where the individual had to confront their own demons and make choices that would determine their fate. As Wooly read on, he felt a sense of awe at the sophistication and depth of Sumerian thought, and the realization that, despite the passage of time, the human experience remained a constant. The tablet was more than just a relic of a bygone era. It was a window into the collective psyche of a people who had lived and died, loved and lost, just as we do today. The days turned into weeks, and the weeks turned into months, as Wooly and his team painstakingly transcribed and translated the tablet. The work was slow and laborious, but the sense of discovery was palpable. With each new translation, the team gained a deeper understanding of the Sumerian worldview and the significance of the tablet in that context. They learned about the importance of the afterlife in Sumerian culture and how the tablet's narrative reflected the societal values of the time. The tablet was not just a story, but a reflection of the Sumerian people's hopes and fears, their struggles and triumphs. As the translation neared completion, Wooly felt a sense of pride and accomplishment, knowing that his team had uncovered a piece of history that would shed new light on the Sumerian civilization. The excavation site was quiet now, the sun dipping below the horizon as Wooly sat back and looked at the tablet, its surface glowing softly in the fading light. He felt a sense of connection to the people who had created this artifact, and to the countless generations who had lived and died in the city that lay beneath his feet. The tablet was a testament to the power of human creativity and the enduring legacy of a long-forgotten culture. As the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, Wooly felt a sense of peace wash over him, knowing that he had played a small part in uncovering the secrets of the past, and that the story of the Sumerian tablet would live on, a reminder of the beauty and complexity of human experience. And in the silence of the night, with the tablet's words still echoing in his mind, Wooly smiled, feeling the weight of history slowly sinking into the stillness of the desert night. As the stars continued to twinkle above, Wooly's thoughts turned to the Sumerian tablet and the secrets it held about the people who created it. He had spent years studying the language and culture of the Sumerians, and yet, he still felt like he was only scratching the surface of their beliefs and traditions. One aspect of Sumerian mythology that had always fascinated him was their concept of the afterlife, and the journey that the soul took after death. The Sumerians believed in an afterlife, and their mythology was filled with stories of the various realms that the soul encountered on its journey. Wooly's mind wandered back to the tablet, and the words that had been inscribed on it. He remembered the story of Gilgamesh, the king of Uruk, who had embarked on a quest for immortality after the death of his friend Enkidu. The story had spoken of the underworld, a place where the souls of the dead resided, and the journey that Gilgamesh had taken to get there. Wooly had always been struck by the vivid descriptions of the underworld, and the various creatures that inhabited it. As he sat there, surrounded by the silence of the desert night, Wooly felt a sense of connection to the Sumerians and their beliefs. He imagined the Sumerian underworld, a place of darkness and shadow, where the souls of the dead resided. The Sumerians had believed that the underworld was a place of judgment, where the souls of the dead were weighed and measured, and their fate was determined. Those who had lived a virtuous life were rewarded, while those who had lived a life of sin and corruption were punished. Wooly's thoughts were interrupted by the sound of footsteps, and he turned to see one of his colleagues, a young archaeologist named Catherine, approaching him. She had been working with Wooly on the excavation, and had become fascinated by the Sumerian mythology and the stories of the underworld. "Leonard, I've been reading about the Sumerian underworld," she said, "and I was wondering if you could tell me more about it." Wooly smiled, happy to share his knowledge with her. The Sumerians believed that the underworld was a place of great danger and uncertainty, he said. The soul had to navigate a treacherous path, avoiding the creatures that inhabited the underworld, and facing the judgment of the gods. As they talked, Wooly and Catherine walked through the excavation site, taking in the sights and sounds of the desert night. They passed by the trenches and the artifacts that had been uncovered, and Wooly pointed out the various symbols and markings that had been found on the pottery and the walls. "These symbols are a key part of Sumerian mythology," he said. "They represent the various gods and goddesses and the stories that they tell." Catherine listened intently, her eyes wide with wonder, as Wooly explained the stories behind the symbols. As they walked, the stars above them seemed to twinkle in time with their footsteps, and the silence of the desert night was filled with the sound of their conversation. They talked about the Sumerian gods and goddesses and the roles that they played in the mythology. They talked about the underworld and the journey that the soul took after death. And they talked about the artifacts that had been uncovered and the stories that they told about the Sumerian people and their culture. The night wore on, and the conversation turned to the concept of the soul in Sumerian mythology. The Sumerians had believed that the soul was a separate entity from the body, and that it continued to exist after death. They had believed that the soul was made up of several parts, including the Namsha, which was the personality or character of the individual, and the Z, which was the life force or vitality. The Sumerians had also believed that the soul was capable of moving between the world of the living and the world of the dead, and that it could be influenced by the actions of the living. As the night deepened, Wooly and Catherine found themselves at the edge of the excavation site, looking out over the desert landscape. The stars were shining brightly above them, and the silence of the night was almost palpable. They stood there for a moment, taking in the beauty of the night and the vast expanse of the desert. And then, without saying a word, they turned and walked back to their tents, the sound of their footsteps echoing through the stillness of the night. The next morning, Wooly and Catherine set out to explore the surrounding countryside, searching for any signs of Sumerian ruins or artifacts. They walked for hours, the sun beating down on them, and the desert landscape stretching out before them. As they walked, they talked about the Sumerian mythology and the stories that they had uncovered, and they talked about the artifacts that they had found and the secrets that they still held. As the day wore on, they came across a small village nestled in the heart of the desert. The villagers were friendly and welcoming, and they invited Wooly and Catherine to join them for a meal. As they sat down to eat, Wooly noticed an old man sitting in the corner of the room, watching them with a keen eye. The old man was dressed in traditional clothing, and he had a look of wisdom and knowledge in his eyes. Wooly felt drawn to the old man, and he asked the villagers about him. "That is our village elder," they said. "He is a keeper of the old traditions, and he knows many stories about the Sumerian mythology." Wooly's eyes lit up with interest, and he asked the villagers if the old man would be willing to share some of his knowledge with them. The villagers nodded, and they called the old man over to join them. As they sat down to talk, Wooly felt a sense of excitement and anticipation. He knew that he was about to learn something new and valuable, something that would shed more light on the Sumerian mythology and the journey of the soul. And as the old man began to speak, Wooly felt himself being transported to a different time and place, a time and place where the Sumerians had lived and breathed, and where their mythology had been a living, breathing part of their culture. As the old man's words painted a vivid picture of the Sumerian underworld, Wooly's imagination began to wander to the banks of the Euphrates, where the ancient city of Ur once thrived. He envisioned the Sumerians, with their dark hair and expressive eyes, going about their daily lives, completely absorbed in their mythology and the concept of the afterlife. The old man's voice brought him back to the present, and Wooly listened intently as he described the journey of the soul after death. According to Sumerian mythology, the soul would embark on a perilous journey to the underworld, a realm ruled by the goddess Ereshkigal, who was known for her fierce and unyielding nature. The old man's eyes seemed to glaze over as he spoke of the soul's journey, and Wooly sensed a deep sadness in his voice. He wondered if the old man had lost someone close to him, someone who had undertaken this very journey. As the night wore on, the old man continued to speak, his words weaving an intricate tapestry of Sumerian mythology. Wooly learned about the various realms that the soul would encounter on its journey, including the realm of Ganzia, where the soul would be judged by the god Nergal. The old man's description of Ganzia was vivid, and Wooly could almost smell the acrid scent of the underworld, a place where the sun never shone and the air was thick with the scent of decay. As the hours passed, Wooly found himself becoming increasingly fascinated by the Sumerian concept of the afterlife. He realized that their mythology was not just a collection of stories, but a complex and nuanced system of beliefs that had guided their daily lives. The old man's words had brought the Sumerians to life, and Wooly felt a deep connection to these people, who had lived and breathed over 4,000 years ago. He wondered what it would have been like to walk among them, to experience their joys and sorrows, and to share in their beliefs and traditions. The old man's voice brought him back to the present, and Wooly listened as he spoke of the Sumerian king, Gilgamesh, who had undertaken a journey to the underworld in search of immortality. The story of Gilgamesh was well known to Wooly, but the old man's telling of it was different, more nuanced and detailed. He spoke of Gilgamesh's love for his friend, Enkidu, and of his grief when Enkidu died. Wooly's heart went out to the Sumerian king, who had been driven by his desire to prevent death from claiming another loved one. The old man's words painted a picture of a man who was both powerful and vulnerable, a man who had been willing to risk everything to cheat death. As the night wore on, Wooly found himself becoming increasingly absorbed in the story of Gilgamesh, and he felt a deep sense of connection to the Sumerian king who had lived so long ago. The old man's voice grew softer, and Wooly sensed that he was nearing the end of his story. He spoke of the Sumerian goddess, Ishtar, who had descended into the underworld in search of her lover, Tammuz. The old man's description of Ishtar's journey was haunting, and Wooly could almost hear the sound of her footsteps echoing through the desolate landscape of the underworld. He felt a sense of awe at the complexity and beauty of Sumerian mythology, and he realized that the Sumerians had been a people who had lived and breathed their mythology, who had seen the world as a place of wonder and magic. As the old man finished his story, Wooly felt a sense of peace wash over him, a sense of connection to the Sumerians and their mythology. The night air was cool and still, and Wooly could see the stars twinkling above him. He felt a sense of gratitude to the old man, who had shared his knowledge and his passion with him. He realized that the journey of the soul was not just a Sumerian concept, but a universal one, a reminder that death was a part of life, and that the afterlife was a mystery that had fascinated humans for centuries. The old man's words had brought the Sumerians to life, and Wooly felt a deep sense of connection to these people, who had lived and breathed over 4,000 years ago. He knew that he would never forget the story of the Sumerian tablet, and the journey of the soul that it had revealed to him. As the night wore on, Wooly found himself becoming increasingly drowsy, his eyelids growing heavy as the old man's voice grew softer. He felt a sense of peace wash over him, a sense of connection to the Sumerians and their mythology. The old man's words had brought the Sumerians to life, and Wooly felt a deep sense of gratitude to him, who had shared his knowledge and his passion with him. The stars twinkled above him, and the night air was cool and still, filled with the scent of the desert flowers. Wooly's breathing grew slower, and he felt himself being pulled into a deep and dreamless sleep, the story of the Sumerian tablet and the journey of the soul still echoing in his mind. In the stillness of the night, the old man's voice faded away, leaving Wooly to his thoughts. The Sumerian tablet, with its intricate carvings and beautiful script, seemed to glow in the darkness, a reminder of the power of human creativity and the enduring legacy of a long-forgotten culture. The journey of the soul, with all its twists and turns, seemed to stretch out before him, a reminder that death was a part of life, and that the afterlife was a mystery that had fascinated humans for centuries. As Wooly drifted off to sleep, he felt a sense of peace wash over him, a sense of connection to the Sumerians and their mythology. The story of the Sumerian tablet would live on, a reminder of the beauty and complexity of human experience and the enduring power of the human spirit. The darkness of the night seemed to press in around him, but Woolley felt no sense of fear or unease. The old man's words had brought the Sumerians to life, and he felt a deep sense of connection to these people who had lived and breathed over 4,000 years ago. The journey of the soul, with all its mysteries and wonders, seemed to stretch out before him, a reminder that death was a part of life, and that the afterlife was a mystery that had fascinated humans for centuries. As Woolley slept, the stars twinkled above him, and the night air was cool and still, filled with the scent of the desert flowers. The night wore on, and the darkness seemed to grow deeper and more profound. Woolley's breathing grew slower, and his body relaxed, letting go of all tension and stress. The old man's voice, with its soft and soothing tone, seemed to fade away into the distance, leaving Woolley to his thoughts. In the stillness of the night, the world seemed to slow down, and the darkness seemed to grow deeper and more profound. Woolley's body relaxed, letting go of all tension and stress, and his mind grew quiet, letting go of all thoughts and worries. As the night wore on, Woolley's thoughts turned to the Sumerian concept of the afterlife and the journey of the soul after death. He had spent countless hours studying the tablet, and yet he still found himself pondering the mysteries of the underworld and the various realms that the soul encountered on its journey. The Sumerians believed that the underworld was divided into different realms, each with its own unique characteristics and inhabitants. One of these realms was the realm of Ker, a dark and foreboding place where the souls of the dead resided. According to Sumerian mythology, the soul would journey to Ker after death, where it would be judged by the god Nergal, and either allowed to enter the afterlife or forced to remain in the underworld. Woolley's mind wandered to the ancient Sumerian city of Ur, where he had spent many years excavating the ruins of the royal cemetery. It was there that he had discovered the tomb of the Sumerian king, Shulgi, who had ruled Ur over 4,000 years ago. Shulgi's tomb was a vast underground complex, filled with treasures and artifacts that gave a glimpse into the life and death of the ancient Sumerians. As Woolley delved deeper into the tomb, he had found evidence of the Sumerian belief in the afterlife, including intricate carvings and inscriptions that described the journey of the soul. One of the most fascinating aspects of Sumerian mythology was the concept of the Giddim, or the soul, which was believed to be a separate entity from the physical body. The Giddim was thought to be a kind of spiritual essence, which survived the death of the body and continued on to the afterlife. The Sumerians believed that the Giddim was responsible for the person's thoughts, feelings, and actions, and that it was the Giddim that would be judged by the gods in the afterlife. Woolley had found many references to the Giddim in the Sumerian texts, including the Epic of Gilgamesh, which told the story of the king's quest for immortality and his journey to the underworld in search of his dead friend, Enkidu. As the night air grew cooler, Woolley pulled his blanket tighter around him and continued to ponder the mysteries of the Sumerian afterlife. He thought about the various gods and goddesses who inhabited the underworld, including the goddess Ereshkigal, who ruled over the realm of Ker, and the god Nergal, who was the lord of the underworld. The Sumerians believed that these gods and goddesses played a crucial role in the journey of the soul, and that they would ultimately determine the soul's fate in the afterlife. Woolley's thoughts were interrupted by the sound of a distant jackal, its cry echoing across the desert landscape. He smiled to himself, knowing that the jackal was a symbol of the underworld in Sumerian mythology, and that its cry was a reminder of the mysteries that lay beyond the grave. In the years that followed, Woolley continued to study the Sumerian tablet and to learn more about the culture and mythology of the ancient Sumerians. He became increasingly fascinated by the concept of the afterlife and the journey of the soul after death. He spent many hours poring over the Sumerian texts, including the Epic of Gilgamesh and the Descent of Inanna, which told the story of the goddess's journey to the underworld. Through his studies, Woolley gained a deeper understanding of the Sumerian worldview and the ways in which they understood the nature of life and death. He came to realize that the Sumerians had a profound respect for the mysteries of the universe, and that they saw the afterlife as an integral part of the human experience. As the first light of dawn began to creep over the horizon, Wooly slowly got to his feet and stretched his tired body. He looked out across the desert landscape and saw the stars still twinkling in the sky. He felt a sense of peace wash over him, knowing that he had spent the night pondering the mysteries of the Sumerian afterlife, and that he had gained a deeper understanding of the culture and mythology of the ancient Sumerians. The Sumerian tablet, with its intricate carvings and beautiful script, seemed to glow in the morning light, a reminder of the power of human creativity and the enduring legacy of a long-forgotten culture. And as Wooly walked away from the campsite, he felt the weight of history slowly sinking into the stillness of the desert morning, leaving behind a sense of wonder and a deep appreciation for the mysteries of the human experience. As Wooly walked away from the campsite, the silence of the desert morning was slowly broken by the sound of his footsteps on the dry earth. The sun was rising over the dunes, casting a warm glow over the excavation site and illuminating the faces of the workers as they began to stir. Among them was a young Iraqi archaeologist named Taha Bakir, who had been working with Wooly for several months and had become increasingly fascinated by the Sumerian concept of fate. Taha had spent many hours poring over the ancient texts, trying to understand the intricacies of the Sumerian belief system and the way it seemed to shape their understanding of the world. As he watched Wooly disappear into the distance, Taha couldn't help but wonder what the day would bring and what new discoveries they might make. The air was cool and crisp, with a hint of smoke from the cooking fires, and the smell of freshly baked bread wafted through the camp, mingling with the sound of laughter and conversation. Taha made his way to the mess tent, where he found Wooly already seated, sipping a cup of tea, and deep in conversation with one of the other archaeologists. They were discussing the latest findings and the implications they might have for their understanding of Sumerian culture. Taha listened intently, his eyes scanning the faces of the others as they talked about the concept of fate and the way it seemed to permeate every aspect of Sumerian life. The Sumerians, it seemed, believed that fate was a kind of trap, one that humans couldn't see, but couldn't escape either. They called it Namtar, and believed that it was a kind of cosmic web that ensnared all living things and determined their destiny. Taha was fascinated by this idea, and had spent many hours studying the ancient texts, trying to understand the intricacies of the Sumerian belief system. He had read about the great Sumerian king, Gilgamesh, who had defied the gods and tried to cheat fate, only to be punished for his hubris. And he had read about the goddess, Ishtar, who had descended into the underworld and returned with the power to determine the fate of all living things. As the morning wore on, the conversation turned to the latest discovery, a small, intricately carved stone statue that had been found in one of the excavated tombs. The statue depicted a figure with the body of a lion and the head of a human, and was believed to be a representation of the Sumerian god, Ninjursu. Taha was fascinated by the statue and had spent many hours studying it, trying to understand its significance. He believed that it might hold the key to understanding the Sumerian concept of fate and the way it related to the afterlife. As he listened to the others, he couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement and wonder at the secrets that still lay hidden, waiting to be uncovered. The sun was climbing higher in the sky, casting a warm glow over the camp and illuminating the faces of the workers as they began to prepare for the day's excavation. Taha stood up and stretched, feeling the stiffness in his back and the fatigue in his eyes. He had been working for weeks and was beginning to feel the strain, but he was determined to see the project through and to uncover the secrets that lay hidden in the ancient city. As he walked out of the mess tent, he was greeted by the sound of pickaxes and the sight of the workers digging into the earth and uncovering the remnants of a long-forgotten civilization. The air was thick with the smell of dust and the sound of laughter and conversation, filled the air as the workers began to uncover the secrets of the ancient city. Taha made his way to the excavation site, where he found Wooly and the others already hard at work. They were digging into the earth and uncovering the remnants of a long-forgotten civilization, and Taha couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement and wonder at the secrets that still lay hidden, waiting to be uncovered. As he watched, a worker uncovered a small, clay tablet with intricate carvings, and Taha's heart skipped a beat as he realized the significance of the discovery. The tablet was old and worn, but the carvings were still visible, and Taha could see that it was a representation of the Sumerian goddess, Ishtar. He felt a shiver run down his spine as he realized the significance of the discovery and the potential it held for understanding the Sumerian concept of fate. As he reached out to touch the tablet, he felt a sense of connection to the ancient civilization and the people who had created it. He knew that he was holding a piece of history, and that it might hold the key to understanding the mysteries of the human experience. And as he looked up at Wooly, he saw a sense of excitement and wonder in his eyes, and knew that they were on the verge of something big, something that could change their understanding of the ancient world and the people who had lived there. As Wooly's eyes sparkled with excitement, he began to ponder the significance of the Sumerian tablet and the secrets it might hold about the human experience. He thought about the ancient Sumerians who had created this piece of history and how they had lived their lives unaware of the consequences of their actions. The concept of an afterlife and the idea of a fate that awaited them after death was a mystery that had puzzled humans for centuries. Wooly's mind wandered to the ancient city of Ur, where he had spent many years excavating the ruins of the Sumerian civilization. He remembered the countless artifacts he had uncovered, each one telling a story about the people who had created them and the lives they had lived. In the years that followed, Wooly's fascination with the Sumerian tablet only deepened. He spent countless hours studying the intricate carvings and beautiful script, trying to unlock the secrets of the ancient Sumerians. He became particularly interested in the concept of the trap that humans don't see, which referred to the idea that humans are unaware of the consequences of their actions and the fate that awaits them after death. This idea was deeply rooted in Sumerian mythology, and Wooly was determined to learn more about it. He delved into the stories of the ancient Sumerian gods, such as Anu and Enlil, who were believed to have created the universe and governed the destinies of humans. As Wooly delved deeper into his research, he began to notice a pattern. The ancient Sumerians seemed to be obsessed with the idea of fate and the consequences of their actions. They believed that every decision they made, every action they took, had a direct impact on their fate in the afterlife. This idea was reflected in their mythology, where gods and goddesses were often depicted as being capricious and unpredictable, meting out punishment and reward to humans based on their actions. Wooly realized that this concept of fate was not unique to the Sumerians, but was a common theme throughout ancient Mesopotamian cultures. Wooly's thoughts were interrupted by the sound of footsteps outside his tent. It was his colleague, Max Mallowan, who had been working with him on the excavations at Ur. Mallowan was a young and ambitious archaeologist who shared Wooly's passion for uncovering the secrets of the ancient Sumerians. As he entered the tent, he noticed Wooly's intense gaze and the Sumerian tablet lying open on the table. "What's caught your attention, Leonard?" Mallowan asked, using Wooly's first name, as was their custom. Wooly looked up, his eyes sparkling with excitement, and began to explain his latest discovery. As the two men sat down to discuss their findings, the sun began to set over the desert landscape. The air grew cooler, and the sound of crickets provided a soothing background noise. Wooly and Mallowan talked long into the night, poring over the Sumerian tablet and discussing the implications of their discovery. They talked about the concept of fate and how it had shaped the lives of the ancient Sumerians. They discussed the role of the gods and how they had been believed to influence the destinies of humans. As the night wore on, Their conversation turned to the idea of the trap that humans don't see, and how it related to the Sumerian concept of fate. As the stars twinkled above, Wooly and Malowan delved deeper into the mysteries of the Sumerian tablet. They pored over the intricate carvings and the beautiful script, trying to unlock the secrets of the ancient Sumerians. The night air was filled with the sound of their laughter, and the smell of cigarette smoke wafted through the tent. As they talked, they began to realize that the concept of the trap that humans don't see was not just a Sumerian idea, but a universal theme that had been present throughout human history. It was the idea that humans are often unaware of the consequences of their actions and the fate that awaits them after death. As the night wore on, Wooly and Malowan's conversation turned to the idea of how this concept had been reflected in the art and literature of ancient Mesopotamia. They discussed the Epic of Gilgamesh, which told the story of a king who had been on a quest for immortality and the consequences of his actions. They talked about the Stele of the Vultures, which depicted the king of Lagash, Eonatum, and his victory over the city of Umma. As they analyzed these ancient artifacts, they began to see a pattern emerge. The ancient Mesopotamians had been obsessed with the idea of fate and the consequences of their actions. As the first light of dawn began to creep over the horizon, Wooly and Malowan finally decided to call a night. They had made significant progress in their understanding of the Sumerian tablet and the concept of the trap that humans don't see. As they retired to their tents, they both felt a sense of excitement and wonder at the secrets that still lay hidden in the ancient artifacts. They knew that they had only scratched the surface of the mysteries of the Sumerian tablet, and that there was still much to be discovered. As they drifted off to sleep, they both knew that they would continue their quest for knowledge, and that the secrets of the ancient Sumerians would continue to unfold before them. The days that followed were filled with intense study and analysis, as Wooly and Malowan delved deeper into the mysteries of the Sumerian tablet. They spent hours poring over the intricate carvings and the beautiful script, trying to unlock the secrets of the ancient Sumerians. They talked to other scholars and experts, seeking their opinions and insights on the concept of the trap that humans don't see. As they gathered more information, they began to see a clearer picture emerge. The ancient Sumerians had been a complex and sophisticated people who had been deeply concerned with the idea of fate and the consequences of their actions. As the weeks turned into months, Wooly and Malowan's research began to bear fruit. They had made significant progress in their understanding of the Sumerian tablet and the concept of the trap that humans don't see. They had uncovered a wealth of new information and had shed new light on the mysteries of the ancient Sumerians. As they sat in their tent, surrounded by the artifacts of a long-forgotten culture, they both felt a sense of pride and accomplishment. They had uncovered a piece of history and had shed new light on the human experience. As they packed up their belongings and prepared to leave the desert, they both knew that they would never forget their time in the land of the ancient Sumerians. The journey back to civilization was long and arduous, but Wooly and Malowan were filled with a sense of excitement and wonder. As they traveled, they talked about their discoveries and the implications of their findings. They discussed the concept of the trap that humans don't see and how it related to the Sumerian concept of fate. They talked about the ancient Sumerians and their complex and sophisticated culture. As they approached the outskirts of the city, they both felt a sense of sadness and loss. They had left behind the desert and the artifacts of a long-forgotten culture, but they both knew that they would never forget their time in the land of the ancient Sumerians. As they settled back into their routine, Wooly and Malowan began to write up their findings. They spent hours typing away, trying to put into words the secrets they had uncovered. They wrote about the Sumerian tablet and the concept of the trap that humans don't see. They wrote about the ancient Sumerians and their complex and sophisticated culture. As they worked, They both felt a sense of satisfaction and fulfillment. As they finished their manuscript, they both knew that they had created something special. They had told a story that would be remembered for generations to come. And as they sat back and read over their work, they both felt a sense of pride and accomplishment. As the sun rose over the desert landscape, Leonard Woolley couldn't shake the feeling that the Sumerian tablet had revealed only a fraction of its secrets. He spent the morning poring over his notes, trying to decipher the meaning behind the intricate carvings and script. The concept of the trap that humans don't see, which referred to the fate that awaited humans after death, lingered in his mind, and he became increasingly fascinated by the idea. Woolley's thoughts were interrupted by the sound of his colleague, Max Mallowan, approaching the campsite, carrying a large notebook and a look of excitement on his face. Mallowan had been studying the ancient Sumerian city of yore, and had made some remarkable discoveries about the burial practices of the Sumerians. As they sat down to discuss their findings, Woolley learned that the Sumerians believed in an afterlife, where the souls of the deceased would journey to the underworld, ruled by the goddess Ereshkigal. The Sumerians also believed that the fate of the soul was determined by the actions of the individual during their lifetime, and that the soul would be judged by the god Nergal. This idea of a judgment after death resonated with Woolley, and he began to think about the implications of this belief on the daily lives of the Sumerians. He wondered how this belief would have influenced their decisions, and whether it would have led them to live their lives in a certain way. As the day wore on, Woolley and Mallowan delved deeper into the mysteries of the Sumerian afterlife, and the concept of the trap that humans don't see began to take on a new meaning. They realized that the Sumerians were not just concerned with the afterlife, but also with the present, and that their beliefs about the afterlife had a profound impact on their daily lives. The Sumerians believed that the soul was immortal, and that it would continue to exist after the death of the physical body. This belief led them to develop a complex system of funerary practices, which included the provision of food, drink, and other offerings for the soul. The Sumerians also believed in the concept of a double, or a spiritual counterpart to the physical body, which would accompany the soul on its journey to the afterlife. As Woolley and Mallowan explored the Sumerian city of yore, they came across many examples of these funerary practices, including the royal cemetery, where many of the Sumerian kings and queens were buried. The cemetery was filled with elaborate tombs, each containing the remains of a royal person, along with a vast array of grave goods, including jewelry, pottery, and other treasures. The tombs were also filled with the remains of the royal attendants, who were believed to have accompanied their masters on their journey to the afterlife. As the sun began to set, Woolley and Mallowan made their way back to their campsite, exhausted but exhilarated by their discoveries. They spent the evening discussing their findings, and trying to make sense of the complex system of beliefs that the Sumerians had developed. As they sat around the campfire, watching the stars twinkle to life in the night sky, Woolley couldn't help but feel a sense of awe at the sophistication and complexity of the Sumerian civilization. He realized that the concept of the trap that humans don't see was not just a Sumerian idea, but a universal human concern, and that it had been a central theme in many cultures throughout history. As the night wore on, Woolley's thoughts turned to the many other cultures that had grappled with this idea, and he began to think about the ways in which different societies had approached the question of what happens after we die. He thought about the ancient Egyptians, who had developed a complex system of mummification and burial practices, and the ancient Greeks, who had believed in an underworld ruled by Hades. He also thought about the many other cultures that had developed their own unique beliefs and practices surrounding death and the afterlife. As the fire burned low, Woolley and Mallowan retired to their tents, their minds filled with the wonders of the Sumerian civilization and the mysteries of the human experience. The stars shone brightly above, a reminder of the vast and unknowable universe, and the tiny but significant place that humanity occupied within it. And as Woolley drifted off to sleep, he felt a sense of peace, knowing that he had caught a glimpse of the trap that humans don't see, and that he had been a part of something much larger than himself. The silence of the desert night was a reminder that some secrets would always remain hidden, but that the search for understanding was a fundamental part of the human experience. The sun had barely risen over the desert horizon when Leonard Woolley began to sift through the day's findings, his eyes scanning the rows of artifacts laid out before him. The Sumerian tablet, now carefully excavated and preserved, sat at the center of the arrangement, its cuneiform script a reminder of the secrets it still held. As he delicately brushed away the dirt from a newly uncovered fragment, Woolley's mind wandered back to the countless hours he had spent studying the tablet, poring over the stories of Gilgamesh and the descriptions of the Sumerian afterlife. The more he learned, the more he realized that the Sumerians' understanding of the afterlife was far more complex and nuanced than he had initially thought. In the years that followed the discovery of the tablet, Woolley had become increasingly fascinated by the Sumerian concept of the afterlife, and he had spent countless hours discussing it with his colleagues and fellow scholars. One of these scholars, a young woman named Gertrude Bell, had been particularly instrumental in helping Woolley to understand the Sumerian perspective on the afterlife. Bell, a renowned archaeologist and historian in her own right, had spent years studying the ancient Sumerian texts and had developed a deep understanding of their mythology and cosmology. Together, Woolley and Bell had pored over the tablet, using their combined knowledge to tease out the subtle meanings and allusions that lay hidden within the text. As they delved deeper into the tablet's secrets, Woolley and Bell began to notice a recurring theme: the idea that the afterlife was not a single, unified realm, but rather a complex and multifaceted place, comprising various regions and domains. The Sumerians believed that the afterlife was divided into several distinct areas, each with its own unique characteristics and inhabitants. There was the land of the dead, a desolate and barren region where the spirits of the deceased resided, and the Garden of the Gods, a lush and verdant paradise where the gods and goddesses of the Sumerian pantheon dwelled. And then, of course, there was the River of the Dead, a mystical waterway that flowed through the afterlife, carrying the spirits of the deceased to their final destination. Woolley's fascination with the Sumerian afterlife had also led him to explore the mythology surrounding the descent of Inanna, a famous Sumerian myth that told the story of the goddess Inanna's journey to the underworld. According to the myth, Inanna, the Sumerian goddess of love and war, had descended into the underworld, where she was met by her sister, the goddess Ereshkigal, who ruled over the land of the dead. The story was a powerful exploration of the Sumerian understanding of the afterlife, and Woolley had spent hours analyzing its symbolism and themes. He was particularly struck by the idea that the Sumerians believed that the afterlife was not just a place of rest and reward, but also a realm of judgment and accountability, where the deeds of the living were weighed and measured. As the days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, Woolley's excavation team continued to uncover new and exciting artifacts, each one shedding more light on the Sumerian civilization and their understanding of the afterlife. One of the most significant discoveries was a series of clay tablets, inscribed with the hymn to Nanna, a beautiful and poignant poem that explored the Sumerian concept of the soul. The hymn told the story of the soul's journey to the afterlife, and the various challenges and obstacles that it encountered along the way. Woolley was deeply moved by the hymn, which he believed captured the essence of the Sumerian spirit and their profound understanding of the human experience. The discovery of the hymn to Nanna had also led Woolley to explore the Sumerian concept of the soul, and the various ways in which it was understood and described in their mythology and literature. The Sumerians believed that the soul was a complex and multifaceted entity, comprising various aspects and components, each with its own unique characteristics and functions. They believed that the soul was composed of several distinct parts, including the Namshita, or the breath of life, which was responsible for animating the body and giving it life. They also believed in the concept of the T, or the personality, which was the unique and individual aspect of each person, and which survived the death of the physical body. As Woolley delved deeper into the Sumerian understanding of the soul, he began to realize the significance of their concept of the Ka, or the double, which was the spiritual counterpart of the physical body. The Sumerians believed that each person had a Ka, which was a duplicate of their physical body, but made of a more subtle and spiritual material. The Ka was responsible for guiding and protecting the individual, and was believed to play a crucial role in their journey to the afterlife. Woolley was fascinated by the idea of the Ka, and spent many hours discussing its significance with his colleagues and fellow scholars. The more Woolley learned about the Sumerian concept of the soul, the more he realized the depth and complexity of their understanding of the human experience. The Sumerians had a profound appreciation for the mysteries of life and death, and had developed a sophisticated and nuanced theology that explored the nature of the soul and its journey to the afterlife. As he sat in his tent, surrounded by the artifacts and texts of the Sumerian civilization, Woolley felt a sense of awe and wonder at the richness and diversity of human culture, and the many ways in which people had sought to understand and make sense of the world around them. In the stillness of the desert night, Woolley's thoughts turned to the Sumerian tablet and the secrets it still held. He knew that he had only scratched the surface of its meaning, and that there was still much to be learned from its ancient script. As he drifted off to sleep, the stars shining brightly above him, Woolley felt a sense of peace and contentment, knowing that he had been a part of something much larger than himself, and that he had caught a glimpse of the mysteries that lay beyond the veil of the unknown. The Sumerian tablet, with its stories of Gilgamesh and the Sumerian afterlife, had opened a doorway to a new world of understanding and appreciation, and Woolley knew that he would carry its secrets with him for the rest of his life. As Woolley's eyes grew heavy, the stars above seemed to twinkle in rhythm with his gentle breathing, and the silence of the desert night wrapped itself around him like a soft blanket. In the stillness, he couldn't help but think of the Sumerian king, Gilgamesh, who had also sought to understand the mysteries of the afterlife and the journey of the soul that lay beyond the reach of mortal men. The stories of Gilgamesh, etched on the Sumerian tablet, had spoken of a great flood and a quest for immortality, and Woolley wondered what other secrets the ancient civilization had left behind, waiting to be uncovered. He thought of the many scholars and archaeologists who had dedicated their lives to studying the Sumerian civilization, and the countless hours they had spent poring over the tablets, trying to decipher the meaning behind the intricate cuneiform script. One such scholar was Samuel Noah Kramer, an American archaeologist who had spent years studying the Sumerian tablets, and had written extensively on the subject of Sumerian mythology and the concept of the afterlife. Kramer's work had shed new light on the Sumerian understanding of the soul's journey, and had helped to illuminate the many symbols and metaphors that appeared in the tablets. As Woolley drifted off to sleep, he felt a sense of gratitude towards Kramer and the many other scholars who had contributed to the understanding of the Sumerian civilization and the mysteries that lay beyond the reach of mortal men. The next morning, Woolley woke up feeling refreshed and began to think about the implications of the Sumerian tablet and the stories it told of the afterlife. He realized that the Sumerian civilization had a deep understanding of the human psyche and the fear of death that lay at the heart of every human being. The Sumerians had sought to overcome this fear by creating a complex system of mythology and ritual that would help to guide the soul on its journey through the afterlife. Woolley thought about the many rituals and ceremonies that the Sumerians had performed to ensure the safe passage of the soul, and the many symbols and metaphors that appeared in their art and literature. He thought about the great ziggurat of Ur, with its stepped pyramid and intricate carvings, and the many other temples and shrines that had been built to honor the Sumerian gods. As he sat in the desert, surrounded by the remnants of a long-lost civilization, Woolley felt a sense of awe and wonder at the complexity and sophistication of the Sumerian culture. He realized that the Sumerian tablet, with its stories of Gilgamesh and the afterlife, was just one part of a much larger tapestry that had been woven by the Sumerian people over thousands of years. The tablet was a window into a lost world, a world that was both familiar and strange, and yet it was a world that spoke to something deep within the human heart. As Woolley sat in the desert, he felt a sense of connection to the Sumerian people and the many other civilizations that had risen and fallen over the centuries. He felt a sense of gratitude for the opportunity to learn from the past and to gain a deeper understanding of the human experience. The Sumerian tablet, with its stories of the afterlife, had opened a doorway to a new world of understanding, and Woolley knew that he would carry its secrets with him for the rest of his life. In the years that followed, Woolley continued to study the Sumerian tablet and the many other artifacts that had been uncovered in the desert. He worked with other scholars to decipher the meaning behind the cuneiform script and to gain a deeper understanding of the Sumerian civilization. Together, they uncovered many new secrets and shed new light on the mysteries of the afterlife. The Sumerian tablet, with its stories of Gilgamesh and the afterlife, had been just the beginning, and Woolley knew that there was still much to be learned and many more secrets to be uncovered. As he looked out into the desert, he felt a sense of wonder and a sense of awe at the vast and unknowable universe and the tiny but significant place that humanity occupied within it. The stars shone brightly above, a reminder of the mysteries that lay beyond the reach of mortal men, and the silence of the desert night was a reminder that some secrets would always remain hidden, but that the search for understanding was a fundamental part of the human experience. As the stars shone brightly above, Woolley's thoughts turned to the Sumerian tablet and the secrets it had revealed about the afterlife. He remembered the words of the ancient Sumerian king, Gilgamesh, who had sought immortality and wisdom, but ultimately came to understand the limitations of human knowledge. The trap that humans don't see, Woolley realized, was not just a concept, but a reality that had faced countless individuals throughout history, including the Sumerians, who had believed that the fate that awaited humans after death was a journey to the underworld, where they would be judged by the god Nergal. In the years that followed, Woolley's discovery of the Sumerian tablet sparked a renewed interest in the study of ancient Mesopotamian civilizations and the myths and legends that had been passed down through the centuries. Scholars such as Samuel Noah Kramer and Thorkeld Jacobsen dedicated their lives to deciphering the cuneiform script and unraveling the secrets of the Sumerian tablets. They spent countless hours poring over the ancient texts, searching for clues about the Sumerian beliefs and practices, and the ways in which they had understood the mysteries of the universe. One of the most significant discoveries made by these scholars was the realization that the Sumerians had a complex and sophisticated understanding of the afterlife, which was reflected in their myths and legends. The story of Gilgamesh, for example, was not just a tale of adventure and heroism, but a profound exploration of the human condition and the search for meaning and purpose in life. The Sumerians believed that the afterlife was a place of darkness and shadow, where the spirits of the dead resided, and that the only way to achieve immortality was through the preservation of one's name and legacy. As the scholars delved deeper into the Sumerian tablets, they began to uncover a rich and vibrant culture, which was full of contradictions and paradoxes. The Sumerians were a people who were deeply rooted in their traditions and customs, yet they were also capable of great innovation and creativity. They were a people who were obsessed with the concept of time and the passing of the ages, yet they were also deeply concerned with the mysteries of the universe and the secrets that lay beyond the reach of human understanding. The Sumerian city of Ur, for example, was a place of great beauty and wonder, with its towering ziggurat and its intricate system of canals and waterways. The city was a center of learning and culture, where scholars and priests would gather to study the ancient texts and to discuss the mysteries of the universe. The Sumerians were a people who were deeply devoted to their gods, and who believed that the gods had created the universe and all living things. They believed that the gods were capable of great kindness and generosity, but also of great wrath and destruction. As the years passed, the scholars continued to study the Sumerian tablets and to uncover the secrets of the ancient civilization. They learned about the Sumerian king, Sargon the Great, who had united the city-states of Mesopotamia and created a vast and powerful empire. They learned about the Sumerian goddess, Inanna, who was the patron deity of the city of Uruk, and who was revered for her beauty and her power. They learned about the Sumerian system of writing, which was one of the earliest forms of written language, and which had been used to record the myths and legends of the Sumerian people. The study of the Sumerian tablets also revealed a great deal about the Sumerian understanding of the human condition and the ways in which they had sought to make sense of the world around them. The Sumerians believed that humans were created by the gods and that they were destined to live out their lives on Earth before passing on to the afterlife. They believed that the purpose of human life was to serve the gods and to maintain the balance and order of the universe. They believed that humans were capable of great good and great evil, and that the choices they made in life would determine their fate in the afterlife. As the scholars reflected on the Sumerian civilization and the secrets that it had revealed, they were struck by the realization that the Sumerians were not so different from us, despite the passage of time and the differences in culture and tradition. The Sumerians had struggled with the same questions and doubts that we struggle with today, and they had sought to make sense of the world around them in their own unique way. They had believed in the importance of community and family, and had placed a strong emphasis on the values of loyalty and honor. The study of the Sumerian tablets had also revealed a great deal about the Sumerian concept of time, and the ways in which they had understood the passing of the ages. The Sumerians believed that time was cyclical, and that events would repeat themselves in a never-ending cycle of birth, growth, and decay. They believed that the universe was governed by a set of divine laws, which were beyond human understanding, and that the gods had created the universe and all living things. As the scholars looked up at the stars, they were reminded of the vast and unknowable universe, and the tiny but significant place that humanity occupied within it. They realized that the Sumerian civilization was just one small part of a much larger story, which was still unfolding today. The trap that humans don't see, they understood, was not just a concept, but a reality that had faced countless individuals throughout history and would continue to face us in the future. And as they stood there, under the starry sky, they felt a sense of awe and wonder at the mysteries of the universe and the secrets that lay beyond the reach of human understanding.